Hi, I'm Kristen, and today I'll be talking about some glitch in the matrix situations that I've been in with my daughter. So my daughter is quite psychically gifted, and so she has had paranormal things happening to her kind of throughout her whole life. She has kind of read my mind of something that I was saying in a dream, and then she kind of called it out in the night, waking me up. She has seen kind of like these little sparkle lights with me. So we see like these little bursts of light that are probably about half an inch to an inch wide, and they kind of just appear and explode and disappear. And so she's seen that with me. But more recently, over the past few years, she's experienced a few kind of just strange reality glitches with me that I have been with her experiencing, and I can kind of validate that what she's saying is true because I experienced it as well. So a few years ago was kind of like the really big one that stands out in both of our minds. It was a really bright sunny day, so I believe it was spring or summer, and we were both kind of just hanging out in the living room together. And so I was sitting on the sofa, and my daughter was standing in front of me, just kind of walking around, chatting, talking. And so I have no idea what happened. It was a true glitch, I believe. Everything just went pitch black. And so when this occurred, it was probably 2 seconds long of just darkness, but I could still hear. And so when I say that everything went pitch black, I don't mean that like a really large cloud went over the sun outside and kind of took the light out of the room. And there was nothing that happened that kind of turned the electricity off in the house or anything like that. It was completely, truly pitch black, like blind, darker than it would be even in a house at night with just like the stars out. It was darker than that. And so it was just my daughter and I that were together. And when kind of the light came back, it was like almost like flipping on a switch, like it was gone and then it was back. And my daughter said, like, what was that? What happened? And I said, like, oh, like you didn't see anything either, or did everything went black? And she said, yeah. And so I could kind of hear my daughter for those like couple of seconds. So she was kind of like walking around or like making some kind of movement, but yeah, just could not see anything. And so it's just really funny that years later, it's my daughter will occasionally bring up like, remember when the world turned black? And I'm like, yeah, I kind of do remember that. And I know that there are a lot of other people that can come up with kind of explanations for why that would occur for one particular person. Like there could be a stroke or a heart attack or some kind of medical event. But for both of us experiencing that at the same time, it's just, I don't have any rational explanation for how it could occur besides kind of like a reset or kind of the world turning off and then back on. And so ever since then, it's like I've kind of jokingly and half not jokingly talked to my daughter about how like this world that we're living in isn't real and we're living in the matrix. And so she has seen like this kind of like grid pattern, which I believe I spoke about in another video. She saw it kind of like branching out like over the top of my room and glowing. And so she's kind of seen firsthand that like what we think is real isn't really real, or there's kind of like some underlying like framework that kind of builds everything that we're looking at. But more recently, especially over the past year, what has really been glitching out in our lives that my daughter's experienced with me is like kind of time and synchronicities. And so we noticed a few months ago, I think this was like in the fall, that like time wasn't working correctly. And I would try to my best to kind of like get my kids like snow gear all together and just like all bundled and ready with all of like their lunches and snacks and everything like that. And it just seemed like no matter how fast I was moving, that I was like losing time in the mornings. And so I kind of always wake up at the same time, go downstairs at the same time, get like the whole morning routine done all at the same time. But I was like losing like 2 minutes, then 3 minutes, then 4 minutes, and then eventually it culminated in realizing like what is going on. Like there's like my phone time, like on my iPhone, is not matching up to all of the clocks that are set. Like the clock I had set on my microwave, it wasn't matching up to the time that I had set like inside my car. And so this one particular morning I had looked at the time and I said, "Oh, we only have a few minutes to like get in the car and leave before you're gonna be late to school." And when we got out to the car, it was like 3 minutes even later than that. And so I was like, my daughter pointed out, she was like, "That's not the time. Like, how did it get so late?" And so I kind of noted that, and my daughter and I both noted that like something was wrong with the time. Like, why is it that everything that I manually set was one time, and then like the actual kind of like digital clock that auto updates was different. And So that occurred, and I saw like on the internet shortly afterwards that like multiple people were mentioning, I think like on the retcon subreddit, that like they had lost time, and somebody was saying I have a large collection of watches and they had all lost like 3 minutes within the past few days. And somebody else chimed in saying like, oh well, it's speeding up now, but like somebody saying like I also have a bunch of like manual clocks or watches, and they were saying that over the past 2 to 3 weeks that we had lost overall like 5 to 6 minutes. And so it's just really, really weird kind of seeing that confirmation like from other people that like at the pretty much the exact same day that I was noticing there's like a major time discrepancy, that other people were also seeing it. And then like time continued to just get weirder. My daughter, once she noticed that like the clocks weren't matching up, and then I was telling her that other people noticed that their watches didn't match up with like time on phones. She started noticing that it was taking us like different amounts of time to go down the street in like with in no traffic kind of on the roads. So like there was nothing that would be delaying us. And so she would notice that while we were sitting at the end of our driveway, like waiting to kind of turn to drive to the school, that like sometimes it was taking us 2 minutes instead of 30 seconds. And she was like, why is the time like on the car clock like speeding up so much? Um, and I was actually thinking about making this video today because like this kind of like weird time discrepancy happened just this morning. So I was driving down the street, and we're only a few minutes away from the school, but it still takes about like 4 or 5 minutes. And so even with me traveling at my normal pace, driving the speed limit, doing what I always do, we were able to go the entire length down the street to the school street like in 1 minute. And so something really strange going on that didn't take those 4 minutes, took 1 minute. And so I'm not quite sure what's going on with time, but it seems like it just keeps glitching out and getting weird, getting strange. Things that should just take one set amount of time are speeding up and slowing down, and it's just really, really weird. Um, and since I have mentioned like the retcon or glitch in the matrix type of subreddit, there was also like something that I noticed a year ago that ties into like this time change or time discrepancies, and it's the happy birthday song. And so I read about this a long time ago, and I kind of brought it up periodically over the past like year or two. But back when I was a kid, I was told that if you just say like "Happy birthday to you" at that pace, that little phrase is 1 second. But now, if you try to time yourself, actually saying that little phrase of the Happy Birthday song, it actually takes like 1.3 or 1.4 seconds in order to say it at that length. So now, in order to kind of fit that happy birthday phrase into 1 second, you have to say like "Happy birthday to you," and that's 1 second. And so there's like just overall there, like it seems like time from when I was a child, like really like knowing that was 1 second back in the 1990s. um, it now seems like time has sped up by about like 30%. And so it's really mind boggling. I can't even pretend to say that I understand it. There's obviously lots of different theories for people who believe in this, and a lot of people don't. They kind of see it as like almost like flat earth information. But for people that do believe in it, that we think like maybe there's like timeline shifting, whatever timelines we've shifted onto, or kind of other kind of earth changes that are happening. Like it's dramatically affecting like what actually happens with time. And since time isn't real, it's kind of man-made. It's fluctuating, it's changing, it's not working correctly. And so that's been really like kind of strange, noticing it time and time again and realizing like this isn't right, this isn't how our reality works. And then just a few days ago, my daughter was, because we talk about this like pretty frequently off and on, my daughter was mentioning that she was noticing something else that like was wrong in our world, I suppose. And this really is the synchronicities. And so she said, like, why is it that anytime I think about a red car, then a red car goes by? And I kind of told her it's confirmation bias, the whole theory that once you begin looking for something, then you see it everywhere. So if you feel like I haven't seen a red car in a long time, then like pretty much you're going to look and you're going to see one and see another and see another. And it's just funny. So she kept saying this. Well, she mentioned it to me once, and then like she was like look outside, like look at all the red cars. And so it was pretty funny. Like I saw firsthand a few days ago that she was like, there's too many red cars. And so I looked out the window, and typically we'll see like normal cars, like white, black, silver cars that are in trucks going by. But it was like one red car after another. And it was just kind of like proving a point of when you're looking for it, you're going to see it, almost like it's just spawning or generating into our existence. And so my daughter went one step further, and I thought this was kind of funny. And she's like, do you notice that the cars only go by when we stop looking? And I said, no, I didn't notice that. And so we were both in our kitchen talking, and it's funny, we like deliberately just like looked at each other and didn't look out the door. And it's like we could hear like these cars zooming by, and then she would go like, look. We would go and we would like both like look outside, and then it would just be nothing. And so we could end up staring outside for 2 or 3 minutes, and there'd be no cars going by in the middle of the afternoon. And it's like the second that both of us would look away from the road again, we would hear like a car starting to go by again. It was just so strange. And so it's funny, it's like with that happening, I started telling my daughter about like the double slit experiment, and I ended up showing her a couple like kids themed videos on the double slit experiment. So if anybody is not familiar with it, it's kind of a major piece of scientific proof of like the unreality of our reality due to the observer effect. So if there's like two slits, and like light photons, I believe, were like sent through these two slits to see like what happens to the photons as they come through and hit a wall on the other side. And so every time that somebody was looking, or there was a camera recording what was happening in the science experiment, it's like all of the particles would kind of align in like two bands going through the slits. And I suppose I believe at the start of the experiment that is what the scientists expected to have happen, except when they turned the machine on and they ran the light through, and like there was nothing recording what had happened, they would look at the effect of the particles on the wall at that point, and they saw that there was like a wave ripple effect that was going on. So instead of the particles just going straight and heading straight through these two slits and coming out in bands, like the light particles were expanding out in like these two huge like waves, and they were bouncing off of each other and interfering with each other as the two waves from the two different light sources were hitting each other. And so as they would come out through the two slits, they were coming out in like this kind of like scattered like wave like kind of just pattern, I suppose. And so it kept on being replicated again and again and again. And no matter how many times people have tried to I suppose, disprove this double slit experiment and show like, no, the observer can't affect things. It just keeps being proved again and again that us watching or recording something has a major effect on what happens in our reality. And so I kind of compared this whole reality of the double slit experiment to like, if a tree falls in the woods and there's no one there to hear it, then does it make a sound? And I told my daughter like, no, it absolutely doesn't. And started getting into like kind of game theory that if no one's around and nobody's observing it, then it's not going to be there at all. It's like kind of like in our game that we're living in. The only things that are generated are the things that we are playing in or looking at. And so I don't know, it's been a lot of fun to kind of talk about these things with my daughter, who is 9 years old right now. And so she gets it, but she doesn't deeply get it, and even like a lot of adults, like they can acknowledge that the double slit experiment exists and that there's like weird things happening in the world, but a lot of people aren't ready to kind of admit or acknowledge that like this physical 3D world that we're in is not really as physical and real as we probably think that it is. Yeah, so it's been fun kind of like seeing these like little things pop up showing like this is fake and this is fake, and all of these things are just going to keep on getting like stranger, weirder, and kind of like breaking, I suppose. um, yeah, so if you have ever kind of experienced any of these like major time discrepancies, or the blackouts, or like just the synchronicities of when you know that you're observing something, then what you're looking at changes. Please let me know, especially if you have different kinds of examples versus like what my daughter and I have experienced. I absolutely love hearing stories like this. I love Glitch in the Matrix stories. I think that it's a huge testament to how kind of we create our lives, and we're not at the mercy of like some other plans. Like the plans are made by us before we came here, and then they're tinkered with and tailored with by us as we continue like moving through our lives. And it's fun to see how like there can be like little kind of changes happening within our reality in order to like acclimate or accommodate whatever our beliefs are or what we expect to see happen. Yeah, so thank you so much for watching today, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.